Hi, I'm Marisol Diaz, Communications and Digital Manager here at SOC. Thank you for joining us for another edition of 3 o'clock with SOC. Give me a second while I welcome our Spanish-speaking residents. Buenas tardes, gracias por estar con nosotros hoy en 3 en punto con SOC. Si quieren acceso al programa en español, favor de marcar el número que aparece en la pantalla, que es 646-749-3122. Y la contraseña para entrar es 779-328-221. And just as a reminder, you can access these past episodes here on Facebook in our video section and on YouTube. And now I will go ahead and turn it over to our moderator of the day, and she will introduce today's topic.
Bienvenido y gracias por ver 3 o'clock with SOC. Hello, everyone. My name is Andrea Rodriguez. I'm the Leadership Coordinator at Southside Organizing Center. Thank you so much to Marisol Diaz for that incredible introduction. And yes, we definitely will have those translations available for you later on today. So we please look forward to looking at those and a lot of amazing videos we have on our SOC page. We also, just so you know, also have an incredible SOC survey that is available for you to fill out. Please, it takes just a few moments. So if you get a moment, we would really love that feedback. SOC is definitely available with you. I know I'm home right now because of COVID-19. However, we're all working virtually and we've been here since day one. I'm very thankful that we have some incredible staff members helping us today, including Maria Perea, who's doing our production. We also have Travis Hope in our comments. And later on today, we'll have Tammy joining us for an interview with our guest today. And then Marlene Zaran is also joining us for some technical support. Besides that, yeah, definitely staying home, staying safe. And if you get a moment, please go ahead and give a shout out in the comments. We get a number, but we don't actually always see who's actually here. So if you want to say hello, or if you might have a question for our guest today, please feel free to chime it in our comments. We love interacting with you. And just because we can't see you in person every day doesn't mean that we're not here for you. So please don't hesitate to go ahead and do that. And just so you know, you can always reach any of us here at SOC always. We're not in our office right now, but you can always reach us by email at soc@socmilwaukee.org, or you can call us at 414-672-8090, and our website is www.socmilwaukee.org. In addition to that, we have our Facebook and Instagram social media, so please message us, call us, email us. We miss you desperately, but we know we're doing what we need to do to keep our community safe, but we are always here for you. But besides that, we're very thankful. Today's Friday, October 2nd. It is also our Leadership, Organizing, and Community Development Day. For today, we have some incredible guests. Hispanic Heritage highlight that we have as we're celebrating this month of Hispanic Heritage. We have current and former school board leaders joining us today. It'll be Jennifer Morales, Dr. Tatiana Joseph, and also Dr. Tony Baez joining us later. So if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and let us know today. We'd love to hear from you. We also have some great highlights coming up next week. One of my dear friends, Amanda Avalos from LIT, will be joining us on Monday. We're also going to have some incredible youth coming through for Youth Day on Tuesday. In addition to that, we'll also have the Commission on Aging, Christina Puertan will be joining us, and also Sanika Finch. So we're excited for that, and that'll be our Spanish episode. And Thursday, it looks like our wonderful Claire Evers will be coming back, Deputy Commissioner for Environmental Health at Milwaukee Public Health Department. So excited for those guests, and I'm sure we'll have some more incredible updates for you as the week goes on. Up next, I'd go ahead and like to invite Tammy Rivera for a critical update.
Gracias, Andrea. Thank you all for being with us on this Friday. Just a couple other reminders. The reason you don't see us with masks, folks, is because we're all working virtually. And so know that we're cooperating. It's just that, for instance, I'm home alone. There's no need for a mask. That's why you won't see our staff wearing them. And to share a disclaimer, the views and the opinions shared today don't necessarily reflect those of SOC. Before I bring my guest on, I want to share a critical update for those of you who have been following with us and mourning with us and planning on how to honor Jason Clearman. We want to let you know that the vigil that was scheduled for this evening is postponed. And so we needed to postpone that given the recent updates on COVID-19. You may have heard the governor has requested for us Wisconsinites to stay home and to not leave our homes unless it was necessary. Also, there was shared earlier in the news that we have diminished hospital capacity in the region, and so we need to take extra precautions. And you may also know that our numbers here on the near south side continue to be very high for positive C19 coronavirus positive tests. And that's especially true in the 53215 area and the 53204 area, which is our entire district. Our offices are located here. Much of our staff, almost all, live in this area. And of course, many of you do. So we want to take the most conservative caution we can in these days. And so stay tuned, folks. We love Jason and his family dearly, and we will be honoring him as soon as we can do so safely. And you will all have an opportunity to continue the passions and legacies he has left. All right, folks, it is Hispanic Heritage Month. We want to continue highlighting the wonderful contributions of our Latino IX community, and we're going to continue that today. Today, we have all three of the Latino IX elected school board directors that have been representing us. And so I'm so excited to have them all together. I think it's the first time I'm going to see them all together in a venue and get to know the things they had in common in the experience and the things that have been distinct. So with that, I'd like to invite our first elected school board director of Latino IX Heritage, Jennifer Morales.
Hello.
And hola, Jennifer.
Hi.
It's
Good
been
to see you.
such a long time. Let me give you a virtual hug. And then, when Jennifer stepped down, our next elected school board director was Dr. Tatiana Joseph. So we'll bring her on. Hola.
Hola.
Good to see you, amiga. And then our final or most current school board director, and you all are very familiar, he's been such a faithful presence here on the forum, Dr. Tony Baez. Hola, Dr. Baez.
Hola.
It's so great to see you. I'm going to have to screenshot this because I think it's the first time we've had the three of you on a venue together. Am I correct or no?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. That's very exciting to me. Thank you for being with us. The forum continues to be something the community, our residents, continue to ask for. So we're going to continue this. ¿Hasta cuándo? Hasta que la gente diga. So I'll give you a queue up the 4 questions, and then we'll start with each one. The first one is just to share the process of you deciding to run and your experience, right? We want folks to know what that is so that they're encouraged and hopefully invited to jump in, because we don't have enough Latino IX folks running for office. Then the second question one of you can answer is just, what does the MPS board do? We don't want to assume one way or another that people understand the responsibilities of the school board. And then you can share what were the things that were happening during your tenure, Dr. Baez, currently, what you're working on, like what were the key issues taking place during your tenure? And then hopefully we have enough time to let folks know what Jennifer, you're doing, Dr. Joseph, what you're doing, and Dr. Baez, so they can stay up to date on where your leadership is being applied. So let's start with you, Jennifer, since you were our first. Tell us, what was that process for you of deciding to run for office, and what was your experience?
Well, I was a parent of children in MPS, and I was also working in education policy. I was a researcher at UW Milwaukee in the School of Education. And I was recruited by a group of parents and teachers to run. And I kind of got into politics kicking and screaming. I didn't really want to do it, but I was very forcefully encouraged to participate. And I worked really hard, knocked on a lot of doors, talked to thousands of voters, and was elected. But the process actually began with Tony Baez 10 years earlier, because he and a group of other community leaders were really involved in redrawing the maps of the school board districts within MPS to make sure that there was some critical voting mass who would be willing to elect the first Latina representative. And so they combined the kind of progressive East Side and the near South Side and made a district that would elect somebody like me. So it was a lot of foresight. My election was 10 years in the making. And I just want to shout out right now that we have to show up for the census, because the census is how we get the numbers that allow the community to draw the maps that create our centers of power. So please, please, please go fill out your census form. You can do it online. We may have 3 more days, or we might have a whole 3 more weeks, not sure, depending on how
it did go forward. So we are
Okay,
having our regular timeline we have till the end of October.
Great. So we need to show up in those numbers so that we can establish districts that allow us to elect people to represent our interests. So there's my pitch. That's how I got started, through a lot of foresight of Tony Baez.
Thank you. That's super interesting and super beneficial to folks, even in the current times. Dr. Joseph, talk to us about your decision to run it, and how was that experience for you?
Yes, so it's very similar to Jennifer in that in my timeline of events, it was a redrawing of the maps again. And this time was to ensure that it was a majority Latino district, because we were, hanging out with the East Sider, and we loved the East Sider, but the educational issues of the Latino community were not similar to those of the East Siders. And so it was important that the Latinos in our community had a seat at the table, that for long, Jennifer was a great voice and a great leader, but the community still felt that it wasn't, that they weren't at the seat, that they weren't sitting at the table making and having these discussions. And so I had just recently purchased my childhood home for my parents, and my husband and I had recently gotten married. We had just moved in. I had just finished my doctorate in education. And then I was in a school board or a neighborhood association meeting. And, one of the topics was this election, that the seat was now, it was nobody was going to fill that seat because it was a new district. And so, I said to my husband, I said, well, what do you think about that? And he's like, I had just started working at UWM too. And so there was a lot of news from me. And I had a side discussion with a couple of members from the Walker's Point Neighborhood Association. And I said, hey, what if I did it? And the only reason I thought about that is I had, very passionate about education from a teacher's perspective, and not from a recent, PhD person in education. And I felt that living on the South Side my entire immigrant life, after I came from Costa Rica and lived on the South Side the whole time, my neighbors, my classmates, and seeing how many of them were left behind and not graduating, and their families struggling to do things at central office, and understanding the educational system, even my own family trajectory of, when we moved here, we received wrong information about MPS, And we didn't, my parents didn't have the language or the understanding of the district, and how that still resonates with so many parents in our districts. And so I said, well, I don't know. Let me just ask around. I had no idea what running for office meant. I had no money. I recently purchased a house and barely starting my new job. So, I remember the first I met with a person who was interested in doing campaign work, and he asked, well, how much savings do you have for this? And I laughed, right? Because I said, well, we just spent all of our entire savings on buying a house. So we have nothing, right? But just being so passionate, and then connecting with Tony and connecting with other community leaders, Tammy, and it just being felt uplifted, right? And like, yes, you're one of us, and you have the grounds and the expertise and the knowledge to do this work. And so, and being so young, I'm like, probably at that point, Claire and I were the youngest people running for office in that particular election. And, we had no idea what we were doing, but just the community support and knowing, I mean, for me, was knowing that this was critical for our community, was the important piece, was the now or never.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I've had the opportunity to be present for all of this. So I had that observation, and it's good just to hear your reflections on it. Dr. Baez, talk to us about your decision to run for the school board in this cycle, and how was that experience for you?
Sure. First of all, a shout out to Jennifer and Tatiana, which I don't see too much of. And we are so busy in our own lives and the things that we're doing. And that was the case when I decided to run for the school board. I mean, we have had two people before me representing basically Latino interests on the board. Tatiana, more specific in terms of this District 6. But the reason I decided to run was, and I decided this, by the way, by talking to some people on educational circles, and then I was approached by some political organizations that wanted to make sure that we kept our representation on the board if Tatiana was going off, and I really didn't want to run. Okay, I always felt that I was. Exactly. That I was better off doing things from the outside and being an activist, bothering the school board and making sure that our voice was heard. And I mean, those of you that know me know that I have been doing this for a very, very long time. So that to the extent that because we didn't have representation on the board, I felt that we needed to make sure we have a Latino at the table, right? That was essential in a district where the number of kids were growing. When I started with Latino activism related to the schools, we represented 4% of the Milwaukee public schools. By the time I got sort of like engaged in this issue of running for the school board, we were already at 26 or 27%. So that was a significant jump. So why not have representation? Why was it that folks, progressive whites, by the way, that are on the board representing really only 12% white population, but we were 28 and we didn't have anybody. Okay, so we needed to get somebody there. Okay, to voice our specifics, our concerns, and the issues that concern us. I was involved, yes, through the census process and developing the district. As a matter of fact, I was the guy who drew the lines of the district and negotiated all of that with the Milwaukee Public Schools. And so, I drew myself out of the district. Okay. So when the time came to run, I lived a block and a half outside the district. Okay. So I had to move into the district in order to be able to run again. But for me, it was important to give continuity to what we had already started. And we didn't have a lot of candidates at that moment. We had a couple of people that expressed an interest. And then we had someone that expressed an interest in running for the board, but was really someone that was being sort of like, como se dice, cariñosamente engaged by the private sector, in private schools, etc. And I said, wow, no, we can't have that. So I decided to run, and I talked to the people that said, we will stand behind you and support you. And Working Families, the MTA, other organizations said, we will stand behind you because we believe it is important to have somebody on the board. And that's how I ended up moving into the district and moving into the hood again. I even tried to rent from Tatiana when she moved. But we went through all that process, and I'm here, and I'm now at the school board representing, and I hope that, different from my colleagues, I'm an older guy, okay? And they're younger, and we need to make sure that we get more young people on the board so that the board becomes training grounds for educational leadership here in Milwaukee, okay? It is important for people that want to run to know that beyond the aspirations, the political aspirations that individuals may have, the board represents a place where we can develop good leadership, good understanding of the issues, the political, educational issues that affect our population, and that we have people that learn about that and then train and prepare other people for the future.
That's exactly the point. I want to point out that we didn't have one willing leader who wanted to run for office. And I often say, look for the people who are not looking for the shine of the position, but you have to sort of force the issue with them to serve, because they're the servants, not the people looking to lead. And it's just rings true to me that all three of you we're in the same position, right? If people are too hungry for a position, you have to be worried, folks.
Absolutely.
All right, let's say so, and there's a lot of people like that. Let's say some hellos and see if we have any questions so far. Hola, Diana Becerra. Qué bueno verte. Hello, Diana. She says, such great leaders. Thank you for bringing them together for this forum. Hola, Maria. Maria's saying ayer no se pudo conectar, so we'll have one of the staff follow up contigo, Maria. Hola, Maricano. Good to see you all. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll try to stay attentive to those. All right, folks. Who wants to explain briefly, because we have about 8 minutes to try to get the rest of this in, what is the responsibility of the school board?
I don't know. I mean, we all done this, but I think, look, the issue of having been an activist that decides, through conversations with my colleagues and others to run the school board is an important point. We all come from the perspective of being folks who are concerned, okay? Concerned about good quality education for our kids, and not because we were running for the school board as a stepping stone to acquire higher offices, okay? We did it because we believe in this. And even though we were reluctant in doing it at the beginning, it was because we kept doing what we were doing anyway, okay? And we would have continued to do it anyway. So what does it mean to be on the school board? Look, we are there because we have to represent, in this particular instance, and I think that both Jennifer and Tatiana will support me on this. We had a bilingual education program in the Near South Side. And this bilingual education program was attracting a lot of attention, but it wasn't growing the way we wanted it to grow. It was not expanding to the rest of the city. It was it is still a developmental program. So I had been one of those people that had been arguing that we needed a reaffirmation by Milwaukee Public Schools to the idea of bilingualism. And Tatiana can speak to this because I remember her being in meetings with us talking about the bilingual resolution that she eventually took to the board and co-sponsored with Larry Miller, okay? The idea was that if we take the bilingual programs in the Near South Side and we strengthen the bilingual programs in the Near South Side in this District 6 and expand bilingual education to the area as a whole, that then we can begin to think about expanding it to the rest of the city so that Milwaukee can become a bilingual, through its public schools, a bilingual city in many ways. That resolution is very significant. It was passed in 2014 by the board. But there were other things that we were doing that was not just related to bilingual education. In order, that there's something about this thing that is called intersectionality by some academics. I call it that way because there's so many things, so many fronts that poor people and working people have to struggle with. Okay, when you try to get a public school system to respond to your needs, it's not just about language. It's really about a whole mess of other things. It's changing the way things happen in those schools, the curriculum, the content, the inclusiveness of anti-racist, content in the curriculum, the inclusiveness of, the relationships with students that are significant. And because of all of that, we need somebody at the table that is not just about bilingual education, that has a voice and can speak to those other issues too and can prepare, that has a sense that being on the board also means development for you. You are growing, you are learning a lot. You learn about, Robert's Rules of Orders, obviously, and you learn about the techie stuff and about motions and resolutions
And the budget.
all of that kind of stuff. But you learn that to be respected on the board, you have to speak with a certain authority, right, folks? You have to be able to know the issue that you're talking about. You have to be able to talk to your colleagues, those that are for you and those that are not, so that you build relationships, so you don't burn bridges. Being on the school board is quite a task, and I continue to argue that it's a full-time job.
It is. It really is in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I would,
really
the main thing is that it's a policy-making body for the schools. So that policy means everything. It means transportation. It means school enrollment policies. It means things like programs like bilingual education or special education. So it really is a huge governance oversight. And it also is the key advocate for Milwaukee public school students in Madison and in Washington, D.C. So I felt a big part of my role on the board was to get out to Madison and to get to D.C. and talk about things like how the schools are funded, talk about things like, in my time, No Child Left Behind had just been implemented by the George W. Bush administration. And so, raising issues of equity for English language learners, for children with special needs, for immigrant children. There were so many flaws in that law that really hurt children in the Milwaukee public schools who were most vulnerable. So, that's really the school board's job, is getting out there to raise the issues that maybe are invisible to those policymakers at other levels of government.
And it's
That's a
about
great point.
engaging the community too, and that gets to one of the other questions I think you have about, in our tenure, right, on the board. And for me, that was, how do we engage the community? How do we engage the community in understanding and working alongside the school board? When I was knocking on doors campaigning, it's like, oh, hi, I'm Tatiana. I'm running for school board. What's a school board?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What is that? What do you do? How does that impact me? I have no children. How does that impact me? I have 2 children. How does that impact me? And so that level of engagement while I was on the board was important. It was, for example, some things that came through was we had a translator at every single school board meeting, and we didn't have that in the past. I mean, even something as simple as translating central office signage around the building so that families could maneuver the building, right, and know what office was what. So, and that's part of engagement, how we build mobile sites where families could go and do central office business in their own neighborhood, in their own language. More translation lines where families could call in and get the service they needed. So it was about uplifting, District 6, the Latino community, but also within District 6 and, the the other populations that live within District 6 and all over the district, so that they too could have a say and a seat at the table that was often lacking.
That's great. I mean, it's so much work. I agree. It's a more than a full-time role. And that's a little insight, folks, into what MPS board does and what you do when you're serving there. We have just a few minutes left. So how about let's update folks on what you're doing these days, Jennifer. What is your current career season looking like?
Well, it's multi-part. The two big parts are that I am working on another book of fiction. I had a book published after I left the board called Meet Me Halfway, Milwaukee Stories. I'm working on another collection of fiction right now. But my day job is I work for Family Values at Work, which is a national paid leave, paid sick days, and childcare advocacy organization. So, and I'm working as essentially the director of learning for the organization nationwide.
Good to know that. How about you, Dr. Joseph? What are you working on these days?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a full-time mama to 3 little monsters who
Yay.
2 of the 3 are doing virtual school, and so that takes most of my day nowadays. But I am also a full-time assistant professor in teaching and learning at UWM, and I lead the second language acquisition program, which anybody who wants to be certified in ESL bilingual and world languages come through that program. We're a growing program, lots of students, lots of people who are interested in pursuing this uplifting career or ensuring that every child has an opportunity to learn languages.
Great. Dr. Baez, let's round off this session. And you've been with us, a faithful presence here, but let's recap what you're working on now in your season of your career.
Correct. No, I'm also highly involved at the national level, dealing with issues that affect Latinos in general. So that what I mentioned before, the intersectionality of all of this is important. What's happening at the border, what's happening with immigration, what's happening with Puerto Rico, I'm involved in all of this. And I've gotten a better understanding of the totality of what we have to do as a population, the voting, getting out there, making sure that we vote, making sure that we participate, and that we use these mechanisms like school boards, legislatures, and others to make sure that we get more Latino voice at the table. And I think that's important. So I continue to do that. At the local level, most of my work has been related to education and what's happening in the schools. And as some of you may know, I've been at the forefront of pushing some issues in Milwaukee Public Schools, particularly the idea of paraprofessionals becoming bilingual teachers. I stay with that. It's not just about getting tuition assistance for them and getting people into the path of becoming teachers, but it's the issue of the testing that happens with that, the Department of Public Instruction, the state role. I have been involved. I'm also on the executive board of the Wisconsin Association of School Board Members, because as a member of the Milwaukee Public Schools, they put me there. So I represent Milwaukee in this statewide organization, and just recently got him to put together and move forward a statement, a very strong statement on issues of racial justice and equity. Can you imagine, this statewide organization saying, yeah, this is important for all of us, and then creating a task force to address the specific issues of that, to put together through their focused newsletter, a newsletter dedicated totally to bilingual education and how it works, how it functions, where is it at legally in the rest of the state, all of that. All of those things have happened just in the last few months, okay? And then the recent issues of being involved in segregation in Milwaukee and how we address the issues of poverty and the impact that segregation has on children and the schools, the issue of school discipline and the significance of that. And somebody asked me, yeah, but that's not related to bilingual education. And I says, no, but it's related to all of us, okay? So when we get on the school board, like Jennifer and Tatiana said, we have to be concerned about everybody, okay? And about all those issues that impact the lives of children, because if we think as Latinos that we're going to be exempt from the harms of segregation because that's only a Black issue, that is wrong. It is extremely wrong. If we are thinking that we're going to be able to get off the anti-racism issues that are going on, Latinos have been the subject of racism historically, of oppression, and of all of those things, except that the narrative by the media makes it black and white only, okay? So it's like if we don't exist. So we have to keep on reminding people that, no, we are concerned about that too, okay? I come from a society that has slavery, okay? My grandfather was Black, okay? So I understand those kinds of issues, and I think that people on the school board, when they see you involved in those kinds of things, they have more respect for you. And they continue to see in you somebody that supports their perspective. So I think that the issue that those of us that are on school boards have is that it's not only about the district we represent, it's about the city as a whole and making this city much better for everybody. And that's important.
Thank you all for being with us on this very important issue of education and during Hispanic Heritage. Be safe, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Adios.
Adios. Thank you again to our special guests, and I'm going to turn the forum back to Andrea.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tammy. And oh my goodness, I'm so grateful for those incredible rock stars. I so agree, especially as a person who, was definitely had immigrant parents, a father from Mexico. I know Latino X representation is so very important, especially leaders, like they said, that can do community engagement and also keep up with educational policy. So that was incredible. Thank you so much. And I hope we can have those guests on very soon. I saw earlier, Tammy mentioned some shout outs with Diana and Maria and Americano. Please go ahead and say hi to us. And we have some more incredible segments coming up for you. So chime in. We love hearing from you. We miss knocking on your doors like we used to and seeing you at events. So we would love to see any comments. Up next, we're going to go ahead and have a coronavirus update that was prepared by our coronavirus coordinator, Marlene Zaran, and it is going to be a video on how COVID-19 can spread in a community.
Hello, I'm Dr. Isaac Genai. I was part of a team that authored an article published on April 8, 2020 in CDC's Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, which reveals important new information about how COVID-19 can spread in a community. Large family gatherings can be a way to spread COVID-19 in communities, as illustrated in the cluster of cases detailed in this report. Patient A1.1, the initial patient in this investigation, was part of family cluster A. Patient A1.1 was the first case and represented the first transmission generation. In February 2020, a funeral was held for someone who died of non-COVID-19 causes. A close friend of the family, patient A1.1, shared a meal with members of the bereaved family, Family B, the night before the funeral. Patient A1.1 had recently traveled out of state and had mild respiratory symptoms. Patient A1.1 had close contact with members of Family B at the funeral. 3 members of Family B developed COVID-19 symptoms in the days following the funeral. Patient B2.1 was hospitalized. Patient B3.1 developed symptoms days after embracing patient B2.1 while at the hospital, while not wearing personal protective equipment or PPE. Ultimately, patient B2.1 died on day 28. 3 days after the funeral, A1.1 attended a birthday party with 9 other members of Family A. 7 party attendees then developed symptoms of COVID-19. 3 were confirmed to have COVID-19, and 4 others were diagnosed with probable COVID-19. Patients A2.1 and A2.2 were hospitalized and ultimately died. 1 family member and a home care professional developed probable COVID-19 after providing personal care for A2.1 without using PPE. Patient A3.1 likely spread the disease to patient A4.1, a household contact who did not attend the birthday party. 3 birthday party attendees with probable COVID-19 attended church 6 days after developing symptoms. Patient D3.1 developed COVID-19 following close contact with these patients at church. This cluster ultimately resulted in 16 cases and 3 deaths, and highlights how quickly the virus can spread in the community. Staying home and avoiding large gatherings are key to slowing the spread of COVID-19.
Well, you get some science education and some civic education. We have it all for you here on 3 o'clock with SOC Forum. So thank you so much to Marlene Zaran for that informative video. I know I just had my 5th test the other day, all negative, very thankful. And I think we all know right now that C-19 has taught us all the present is definitely a gift. So please stay safe out there. Up next, we're gonna have an update from our Civic Engagement Manager, Gabe Charles, and she has a video on how to fill out an absentee ballot.
As Wisconsin gets ready for the upcoming election, people are asking,
So, how do I fill out my absentee ballot once I've got it?
if you've received your absentee ballot by mail, don't wait. Start filling it out right away. After all, it takes time to complete a ballot correctly, and it can take up to 7 days for mail-in ballots to make it back to your municipal clerk's office by Election Day. Here's how to get started. Look inside your packet. You should find an absentee ballot for the upcoming election, a voting instruction sheet, and a postage-paid ballot certificate envelope for returning your ballot. Got everything? Great. Then it's time to line up a witness, someone who can verify that you filled out your own ballot. It can be a spouse, a neighbor. Choose a U.S. citizen who's at least 18 years old. They cannot be a candidate in the upcoming election. Your witness shouldn't see who you vote for. That's private. They can verify your vote at a distance, like from across the room, through a window, at a drive-thru, or even over video chat, as long as they are able to sign your ballot certificate themselves once it's complete. Once your witness is ready, take a look at your ballot. Read the instructions carefully and fill your ballot out slowly, step by step. Write firmly, and use a pen to make clear marks. Don't forget to check both sides of your ballot. You don't want to miss anything. If you change your mind about a selection or think you've made a mistake while filling out your ballot, don't try to white out or erase it. Instead, contact your municipal clerk's office. You can find your clerk's contact info at myvote.wi.gov. They'll answer your questions or send you a replacement ballot if necessary. Once your ballot is complete, take a minute to review your choices. Then refold it and place it inside the certificate envelope. Next, seal the envelope. Then complete the voter certification section. Don't forget to sign your name and make sure your witness signs too. They'll need to add their current home address to the certificate envelope as well. Congratulations! You've successfully filled out your absentee by mail ballot. Now that it's ready to be returned to your municipal clerk, don't wait. Mail your ballot at least 1 week before Election Day or return it in person. You can drop it off at your clerk's office through Election Day, or follow the directions that came with your ballot to find out whether you should take it to your polling place or an absentee counting location on Election Day. Your absentee ballot must be received by Election Day to be counted. Find your clerk at myvote.wi.gov for local election information and absentee voting support.
Excellent. Thank you to Gabe Charles for that wonderful video. And always, if you need any help problem solving a witness, please don't hesitate to reach out to SOC at 672-8090. We're here for you to help problem solve. Also, it is preferred to go in the ballot box. If you have to mail it, we understand, but if you do get a chance to get it to the ballot box, we just want to make sure that your voice is heard. Up next, we're going to have a census update also from Gabe Charles. I know we're about 50% completed on the south side for the census, which is not nearly enough. We do need more. So she's going to give us some more information about that next.
Hey everybody, so I just want to give you an update on census response rates on the south side. So the two areas that are orange and bordered by black on this image are the only two areas on the south side where there is still less than 40% of households that have responded to the census. So what does that mean? That means that we have right now until October 5th to encourage people that we know that live in these areas to get counted in the census. And we always share the link that you can use to fill out the census in our comment section. So send that link to some friends or family you know that live in these areas. The top square is between Scott and Lapham Street, and then between 9th and 16th Street. And then this bottom square is Beecher to Lincoln between 16th and Muskego Avenue. So please, if you know anyone that lives in this area, make sure that they are counting themselves in the census. We only have until October 5th. We were hopeful that the original deadline of October 31st was going to be restored, but it's looking like the Census Bureau is going to be ending their operations now on October 5th. So as of now, we only have these next few days to be filling out the census. So please, please encourage anyone you know that lives in these areas and anywhere in the South Side, anywhere in the city, to be filling out the census.
Thank you so much, Gabe, for that informative video. And yes, October 5th is going to be the last date for collecting census. There's been a lot of litigation on this going back and forth. And really, this is all about oppression and our people being heard. So you see a pothole, you see little problems that you are dealing with. The census and a lot of that money is going to be funding for the next 10 years to solve a lot of it. So if you can reach out to your neighbors or friends and family, please do. We need all hands on deck for this one to make sure that we have everything we need for our people. Besides that, I know we had some great shout outs. I haven't seen any new ones. Let me just give it a little peek. But we still love you. We still see that you're with us at least. So if you get a chance, you hear a friend or family that might, benefit from some of the information on today's show, feel free to tag them. Or if you want to share our show on your timeline, we would greatly appreciate it. We want to make sure everyone is getting all these incredible updates and that we're doing the best we can for our community. After this, we have a wonderful video, Walker's Point Association video. We had an interview with one of our amazing community organizers, who's also our producer today, Maria Perea, and that'll be up next.
My name is Urbanic, and I am the president of the Walker's Point Association, and I've been involved in the association for about 5 or 6 years. In my day job, I work for Platypus Advertising in business development and marketing. But in my volunteer time, I'm the president of the WPA.
Can you tell us a little bit more about WPA? A little bit just background, like how it got started.
Yeah, so the Walker's Point Association got started several years ago when business owners in the neighborhood came together with some residents of the neighborhood, and they joined together to create the WPA. So there was more of a social aspect with one group of business owners and more of a business and economic development aspect with another group, and they just joined forces. And then they also included residents within that. So it's kind of a combination of a chamber of commerce and a neighborhood association and a neighborhood improvement association, basically.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit more about how often do you guys meet or who's welcomed at the meetings?
Yes, so we are open to everyone, whether you're a resident, a business owner, an employee, or just a fan of the Walker's Point neighborhood and you love to come hang out here. We do have a monthly gathering the last Tuesday of every month at 5:30, and normally it's in various locations around the neighborhood, so you get to explore different restaurants, different entertainment venues. We even host one in someone's house usually. We are doing everything virtually right now. But we have an email list that we distribute all the information of how to log in and how to participate. And that's our main venue, but then we also send out email communications, social media, and so anyone can be a part of it. We do collect membership from our businesses. So, and any business, whether you're in the neighborhood or not, you can be a member of the WPA.
Okay, and then how would they subscribe to the email list to get notifications for WPA if they'd like to attend meetings?
Sure. So if you go to our website, walkerspointassociation.org, we have on the About Us tab, there's an email sign up, and you can subscribe to our emails. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. All of our contact information is on our website.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Simi, for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Part of the NSP 16 area is the Walker's Point area. So I'm just gonna show you a little bit, but before that, I am gonna put my mask on because SOC, we do try to follow the COVID-19 safety guidelines, and then we'll just be taking a tour and showing you around. So what we went through right now was areas 5th and 6th Street, which is a really brief part of what Walker's Point is. We will be highlighting at SOC 3 o'clock live with SOC more of the businesses later on, hopefully, so that you can get to know Walker's Point a little bit better. But so far, this is what we have for you. I hope you enjoyed the little tour, and we look forward to seeing you at 3 o'clock with SOC more often. Thank you.
Gracias a Maria and Simi for that incredible interview and also that tour of Walker's Point. Definitely one of my favorite places in the city. So we look forward to seeing more tours of the near South Side and all the incredible resident groups that SOC works with. Up next, we're going to go ahead and have a promo for our SOC survey.
Has this live forum been informative and useful to you? What part of the forum could be improved or changed to make it better? Please take a quick survey that's located in the comments section so that we can keep 3 o'clock with SOC going for residents. Thank you for tuning in.
And thank you to Marisol Diaz, our communications manager, for that SOC promo. Please don't forget to tune in next week. We have some incredible guests for you. Amanda Avalos from LIT will be joining us. We'll also have our incredible youth on Tuesday. After that, on Wednesday, we'll have Christina Huertan and Sanika Fitch from the Commission on Aging. For our Spanish Day, and Claire Evers will be joining us once again. We thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Bye, everyone.
Hello, SOC viewers. My name is Jordan, and I am a member of SOC's Gold Institute. We would like to thank everyone for supporting our 3 o'clock with SOC live show and for completing our SOC survey. In addition to thanking our residents for tuning in and sharing our show, we would also like to thank the following sponsors: Wisconsin Voices, Community Development Block Grants, NEO Philanthropy State Infrastructure Fund, Movement Voter Project, Catholic Campaign for Human Development, Zilber Foundation, City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention, Tides Foundation, City of Milwaukee Promise Zones, and all the faithful individuals who support SOC through their personal donations. Thank you.